This is Blake Temez with the Blake Temez podcast, where I speak as a Catholic layman to Catholic laymen about missional living, wisdom cultivation, and legacy building in service of Christ and his bride, the Church. Thanks for being here. I like this note that is the basis for today's reflection. It reads, "Effective ministry looks like navigating the ocean on a sailboat rather than chugging along on the railroad tracks. We need to be able to make constant adjustments that respond to changing conditions while keeping the destination in sight." As I was reading it, I had a favorite childhood game come to mind. I don't bring up video games very often, but I played quite a bit of them when I was a kid, and there was one called The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, and in it you had to sail a sailboat from island to island. I think there was a later Zelda game that had to do with being on the train tracks, and so there's a funny parallel there. But one thing that I like about the fact that that game came to mind is because while there was a big ocean, kind of keeping you from getting to your goal, and there was danger in sailing from place to place, there was excitement in gaining skill as a navigator and, kind of uncovering more and more of the map and continuing the adventure that way. And so I think that there's a real good application to ministry, because if you accept that not every facet of your life as a minister will be able to be planned out, you can be opening yourself up to overwhelm in the face of chaos, right? Just, acknowledging, yep, I don't have control over everything, and so that causes anxiety in me. But there's an opportunity there for that acknowledgement of not helplessness, that's not the way to think about it, but of dependency on God, on other people, on the movement of history and time. Can open you up to a spirit of adventure that gets you excited about what's coming next and excited about developing your skill as a navigator rather than feeling caught up in needing to have everything kind of planned out and predictable at each step. I think that insofar as the church or Catholic parishes settle into bureaucratic systems of doing ministry, the more likely they're to become intolerant of, call it like risk-taking or adventure-based forms of ministry, because you can't always quantify and plan every possible outcome that comes from a risk-taking or adventure-based endeavor. Let's put some flesh on that by giving examples. When it comes to sacramental preparation for young people, it is very easy for that to devolve into a form of doing ministry that develops a set of requirements that you can put on a piece of paper and then allow people to fulfill the attendance requirements, complete the proper paperwork, and then get a stamp of approval, and then get the sacrament, so to speak. And that's very amenable to a bureaucratic mindset where all of the lines have been signed and, all of the boxes have been checked and all of that. We're familiar with that. Whereas if there's a form of, let's stick to sacramental ministry, that attempts to make the criteria for development more qualitative in terms of the person's experience of new life in Christ, their demonstrable change in habits related to prayer, their willingness and success in initiating new relationships and friendships within the context of the parish. Those criteria are harder to measure. There's more risk associated in them because people have trouble forming new habits and changing their ways and all of that. There's a lot of risks associated with, compelling people, to stretch their relational capacities and form new friendships. But there's so much richness in all of those things that is not attained if ministry is limited to simply the attendance tracking and the completion of forms. So I hope that those examples make things clearer. And it really takes a cultural shift, right? Because even an individual minister can take the mindset of becoming more adventurous and taking more risks, but there can be real pushback against that if the cultural norm in the parish or in the ministry is not that. And so if you're in a position of authority or leadership, you can do everyone a favor by shifting the cultural norms, by beginning conversations about how your ministry can become more amenable to fruit-bearing, risk-taking, adventure-based type of ministry that defies the limits of bureaucratic forms. And so that's the set of thoughts for today. As always, thank you for your time and your attention. God bless you in all your efforts. Peace.